Hello, my bomb blowers and module masters, and today I am here with another Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes modded module tutorial, and today I am here with the module Enigma Cycle. Enigma Cycle is another cycle module, but it is quite different from the rest of them in some ways. Let's go ahead and get started. This module does not require any intwork, so as soon as we get our bomb, we can go ahead and get started.
There is only one.
All available experts, please report to room A9.
Our team.
So here we have Enigma Cycle. It looks like any of the other cycle modules, and if you are not aware, the cycle modules all consist of 8 different dials pointing in different directions. Each of the dials have a letter on them, and based on the number of rotations, we're going to use a wacky decryption process to decrypt these 8 letters into a word. The letters are ordered from left to right, not in reading order. And once we get a word, we will refer to the word list to get a different word, and then we're going to encrypt that word with the same process that was used to encrypt the original message. So, how do we do this? Well, first of all, the cycle modules are usually identified either by the color of the letters on the dials. The manual says that they're brown, but personally I think they're orange. As well as a little graphic on the bottom right. The graphic on this cycle kind of resembles an Enigma decryptor. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's go ahead and start setting up for solving the module. So as you may expect, we're going to be setting up an Enigma decryptor based on the rotations of the dials. Usually in a cycle module, all of the dials will be rotated based on a number of certain degree rotations. So in Caesar, Affine, and Pigpen, among others, the dials can point in one of 8 cardinal directions because the dials are rotated between 0 and 7 times clockwise based on 45-degree rotations. In Playfair and Hill Cycle, the dials can point in one of 5 directions because they have been rotated between 0 and 4 times clockwise based on 72-degree rotations. But for Enigma Cycle,
Emergency cleared. All personnel, please return to your stations.
we have 3 different types of rotations. The first dial can point to one of 3 positions based on 120-degree rotations. So the first dial can point either north, southeast, or southwest. The second, third, fourth, and last dial can point in one of 8 directions based on 45-degree rotations. And then the 5th, 6th, and 7th dials can point in one of 12 directions based on 30-degree rotations. They can point to one of the clock face directions. Also, for the majority of the setup, we're going to be adding 1 to the number of rotations. We're not going to be doing it for the last dial because the last dial does something special to the Enigma decryptor, which we will get into once we get to the 8th dial. So let's start setting this thing up. So the first dial, the number of 120-degree rotations from north plus 1 gives us the reflector. So basically, if it's pointing north, you're using reflector A. If it's southeast, you're using B. If it's southeast, which it is for us, you're using reflector C. The second, third, and fourth dials give us the bottom, middle, and top rotors respectively. The number of the rotors correspond to the number of 45-degree rotations starting from north clockwise plus 1. So for the second dial, we have 1, 2 rotations. 2 plus 1 is 3, so the bottom rotor will be rotor 3. For the second dial, we have 7 rotations. 7 plus 1 is 8. And for the third dial, we have 1 rotation. 1 plus 1 is 2. The 5th, 6th, and 7th dials will give us the initial offsets for the rotors. But before I do that, I'm instead going to look at the last dial first, because there is a chance that the last dial can impact what you're doing for the 5th, 6th, and 7th dials. So the 8th dial does something special to the Enigma decryptor. If you're unaware of how an Enigma decryptor works, what you're going to do is take the letter that you're trying to encrypt or decrypt in the top column, or the top row even. encryption and decryption work the same exact way. So let's say we're encrypting L. What you're going to do is go to the hotel that is directly underneath it, then find hotel in the row beneath that row, which is here, then go down to the next rotor's top row and take the letter, find it in the next row, and do this until you reach the reflector. Where is November? Here it is. So once you reach the bottom of the reflector, you're going to go up and then hit the bottom row of the bottom reflector, the letter in that row that is in the same column as the bottom row that you reached in the reflector. And then you're going to do the same thing we did going down. This time, we're going up. Where's the mic? So, with this setup, Lima would translate to Victor. After you get done doing this, you will normally shift the top rotor left. However, if the highlighted letter on the middle rotor is on the very left side of the rotor, you will instead shift all three of the rotors left. And if a highlighted letter is on the very edge of the top rotor, you're going to rotate the middle and top rotors left. If you don't have a highlighted letter on the left, then you're not rotating at all. Now, based on the last dial, you can instead be rotating right during encryption, but the same thing applies. If you have a highlighted letter on the right, on the middle, or top, then you're going to be rotating the next rotor down. Okay, so now that I've gone over how this works, let's take a look at the modifications that the last dial can give you. If it's facing north, then nothing changes. You do the Enigma decryption as you normally would. If it's facing northeast, then the reflector must be used backwards. All you do is press this shiny flip button. All it does is just mirrors the reflector, and you just do the Enigma decryption normally. If it is east, southeast, or south, then you're going to rotate right instead of left. It says during the encryption process, but it is for the encryption and decryption process. So that's what I was saying earlier about the dial making you go right instead of left, or going left. If it is southwest, west, or northwest, then the initial shift is backwards. So what the 5th, 6th, and 7th dials are telling us is the number of 30-degree rotations clockwise plus 1 gives us the number of times we're going to hit the left button for the bottom, middle, and top rotors respectively. However, if it was southwest, west, or northwest, then the bottom, middle, or top, respectively, based on this order, would instead be the number of times you press the right button to set it up. And if it is rotated to east, southeast, or south, then we're going to move right on the bottom, middle, or top, respectively, based on the order here. So our rotor, our last dial even, is pointing northeast, which means we're going to press that shiny flip button. And now that we've done that, this is what we're going to be using to encrypt and decrypt the word. So I'm going to take a quick photo of this setup, just so I can reference it, because this is the same exact setup we're going to be using. Oh wait, no, my bad. I'm sorry, I forgot to rotate the rotors, so let's go ahead and do that. So for the bottom rotor, we have 1 rotation plus 1, which means we're going to rotate the rotor 2 to the left. For this rotor, we have no rotation, so 0 plus 1 is 1 time we're going left for the middle. And then for this one, we have 3, 4. We have 4 rotations, 4 plus 1 is 5. Interestingly, we have a highlighted letter on the left, but we'll get to that once we start decrypting. The way I like to tell where these 3 dials are pointing is by, once again, comparing them to a clock. But in cases like this one, I like to refer to the 2 directions that it's in between, so right and down. This is closer to right than it is down, so it is 1 further than it would be if it was rotated right. And if it was rotated right, it would be 3 rotations, so 1 further than right is 4 rotations. Okay, now our setup is complete, and now I will take a photo of the Enigma. I'll put that in safekeeping. And let's go ahead and start decrypting our word. What I'm going to do is I'm only going to get the first 3 letters of the word. The word list for Enigma cycle is half the size of any other word list in any other cycle. Usually there's 4 words per each first letter, but in Enigma cycle there's only 2 words per first letter. I believe the first 2 letters of each word are different, but just in case you can never be too sure, I like to get the first 3 letters for each word. Well, in the case of Q, they both start with QU, but there's not many other letters that a Q word can start with other than QU. And that is quite literally the only example, but either way I'm going to get 3 letters instead. Okay, so let's begin. We have Charlie. Charlie goes to golf, golf goes to Lima, Lima goes to hotel, hotel goes to uniform, uniform goes to Yankee, Yankee goes to Mike, Mike goes to Sierra, and Sierra goes to Sierra. So the first letter of our decrypted word will be Sierra. Now we have a highlighted letter on the left side, so we're going to rotate both the top and middle rotors to the left. Next we have Echo. Echo goes to Tango, Tango goes to Victor, Victor goes to Zulu, Zulu goes to Charlie, Charlie goes to X-Ray, X-Ray goes to Delta, Delta goes to Quebec, and Quebec goes to Uniform. SU, is there an SU word in the word list? Yes, there is. It's Sublimes. So if we get a Bravo, we're going to know for sure our word is Sublimes. And because there was no highlighted letter on the left side of the top rotor or middle rotor, all I did was rotate the top rotor to the left. Make sure you keep the direction of encryption in mind. If it was south, southeast, or east, you would be rotating right. You know, just read this carefully and make sure you know what you're doing. Anyway, W. W goes to W, which goes to India. India goes to Quebec. Quebec goes to Lima. Lima goes to Sierra. Sierra goes to Hotel. Hotel goes to Echo, and Echo goes to Bravo. So we know the word is Sublime. So let me reset this decryptor. I rotated this twice and this once. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay, so now that we have our word, Sublimes, we're going to take the word that's underneath Sublimes, which is off track, and we're going to encrypt off track with that same Enigma setup. Encryption and decryption works the same exact way on Enigma cycle. In fact, it works the same exact way on Enigma, period. If you're doing inverted black cipher, which has Enigma as one of its steps, then nothing changes. Okay, so let's begin. Oscar goes to Juliet. Juliet goes to X-Ray. X-Ray goes to Romeo. Romeo goes to Kilo. Kilo goes to Alpha. Alpha goes to November. November goes to Oscar. And Oscar goes to Quebec. Rotate left, and since we have a highlighted letter, we're going to rotate the middle to the left as well. Next up, we have Foxtrot. Goes to Hotel. Hotel goes to Bravo. Bravo goes to Whiskey. Whiskey goes to Foxtrot. Foxtrot goes to Juliet. Juliet goes to X-Ray. X-Ray goes to Juliet. And Juliet goes to November. Go left, because there was no highlighted letter. Foxtrot goes to Foxtrot. Foxtrot goes to Yankee. Yankee goes to Romeo. Romeo goes to Kilo. Kilo, where is it? Goes to Alpha. Alpha goes to Oscar. Oscar goes to Yankee. Yankee goes to Lima. Rotate. We have Tango. Goes to Charlie. Charlie goes to Tango. Tango goes to Charlie. Charlie goes to Zulu. Zulu goes to Kilo. Kilo goes to Kilo. Kilo, where is it? Goes to Tango. And Tango goes to Charlie. Next we have Romeo. Romeo goes to Quebec. Quebec goes to Alpha. Alpha goes to Papa. Papa goes to Mike. Mike goes to Tango. Tango goes to Juliet. Juliet goes to Sierra. And Sierra goes to Oscar. Next up we have Alpha. Alpha goes to Tango. Tango goes to Juliet. Juliet goes to Tango. Tango goes to India. India goes to Papa. Papa goes to Alpha. Alpha goes to Romeo, and Romeo goes to Uniform. We have Charlie. Charlie goes to Delta. Delta goes to Romeo. Romeo goes to Oscar. Oscar goes to November. November goes to Uniform. Uniform goes to Whiskey. Whiskey goes to Golf, and Golf goes to Whiskey. That was a neat pattern. That is a W, not an S. And then finally, Kilo goes to Bravo. Bravo goes to India. India goes to Quebec. Quebec goes to Lima. Lima goes to Sierra. Sierra goes to Hotel. Hotel goes to Juliet. And Juliet goes to Hotel. Let's enter this word. You're going to notice that the button press sounds are the same button press sounds from frickin' Enigma. So don't let that startle you. We have QNLCOUWH. And that is a solved Enigma cycle. I'm not going to do a second tutorial, second example even, because Enigma cycle is a very straightforward module. Enigma is a very easy to understand cipher, but it is heavily error prone. And the setup for the Enigma decryptor, as well as the modification that the 8th dial may make you do, makes this module fairly error prone. The difficulty is not in understanding the module, it's in doing it correctly. It's still not that bad, but it can trip you up if you're not very careful doing it. So that is it for this tutorial. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.